Thank you for doing this. I'm sorry you got the short straw and have to deal with the guy on the stage. But
why do I get the guy?
So you were in media. You were a top executive at The Guardian. So you suffered the problems that we suffer. You escaped. You went to turn around EasyJet. And now you've come back. Why are you coming back to media now?
Well, look, firstly, I didn't feel like it wasn't about escape. I mean, I think Guardian Media Group had a good strategy. And the strategy was to divest all our businesses, which were highly profitable, Auto Trader being one, EMAP, radio. We just divested all of those businesses we knew The Guardian was going to need a lot of money.
Help.
And the core purpose of the group, it's owned by a trust, was to keep The Guardian going in perpetuity. And so actually that strategy has worked. And The Guardian is now kind of at a break even though they lose money, they're allowed to lose that money because that's exactly what the fund was created for. So it was an escape. I just felt that I'd been there 24 years in total because I went all the way through and then I ended up running the group. I thought I would if I didn't leave then, I would never have left.
Right.
And EasyJet was a great opportunity. And it wasn't exactly as if I was escaping because you don't go to an airline for an easy life.
Yeah, no, it was
really,
no simple,
really
that was no simple turnaround.
Yeah, it was really not a simple thing. And then actually, I wasn't really, I'd done nearly 8 years at EasyJet and I felt that the value I'd added, I was never going to be able to add again. I'd done a huge amount with a great team. And so when I thought actually I was going to probably do something completely different, not be a PLC CEO, because once you've done the PLC, it's very intense. It's some things are out of your control, economic outlook, et cetera, that, it's pressurized and it's very quarterly driven.
Yeah.
Here, certainly here. And I thought actually I'd done that. But then ITV came along and it was just very interesting. I think media is really fascinating.
Well, that's why I asked the question about coming back to it, because you lived through what Facebook and Google were doing to the print media. And now you're coming back into television right at the moment that Amazon, Netflix, a consolidated Disney are jumping into that space. What makes you think that ITV, which is a healthy company in the UK context, but pretty small compared to those guys, can survive and thrive in the land of the giants?
So we're kind of very clear. I think their land is a very big land. It's a global land. And we are global in production, but not as a broadcaster. And so, what our focus is very much about strengthening the broadcaster in your home market and being the best you can possibly be at what you do for your viewers at home. On the production side, by production I mean we make lots and lots of programs, but we make them for anyone, really. So, Bodyguard is very famous. That was on the BBC. We sell to Netflix. We sell to Amazon. We sell all over the world. We sell to lots. CBS are doing Love Island and possibly I'm a Celebrity. All over the world. Either our formats, either scripted, i.e. drama, or unscripted, are on everywhere. And that is a global scaled production business. And that's a good hedge for us, particularly when you are exposed to advertising volatility. I mean, everyone in this room will know that advertising is both cyclical and can be volatile. So that's that. And then our third big thing has been direct to consumer, which is where you're referring to the Netflix and Disney. Now, we've never done that before, but my view has been very much strategically, we have to get into that because we have a huge amount of content that is distinctive and we can commission originals because we know what we're doing in that space. But the key to that was collaboration. We can't do streaming in the UK without being partners with the BBC and vice versa. So we've teamed up with the BBC. It will be called BritBox. It will launch in the second half of this year. And it is also about being distinctive because we are not ever going to be Netflix. We don't want to be Netflix. I mean, actually, Netflix it does a certain thing extremely well. We will be complementary to Netflix.
I can tell from the way you're making this case that you've had to argue vehemently for your strategy.
Interestingly, not really. So our shareholders have really got it.
Really?
There isn't one shareholder. They may say, actually, ironically, they may say, are you spending enough? Some will say, can you really win? They'll ask the right questions about this.
But at the end of the day...
But at the end of the day, they kind of look at you and they go, you've got so much content, archive content, recent content, you know, that actually not to take advantage of something really critical that has changed in the media landscape, which is that consumers are now willing to pay. And, you know, when I was at The Guardian, consumers were not willing to pay. They would not pay for content.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second, because Fortune's going through the same transition that you're talking about. I suspect 10 years ago, ITV's revenue was pretty much all advertising.
100%.
100% advertising, which is kind of where we were.
There was no other revenue.
And you're talking about a transition which 10 years from now will mean how much of your revenue is direct to consumer?
So I wish I could answer that, because then I think I would really, really have the entire media industry cracked if I could tell you that. But I think what I'm sure of is that there will still be advertising and linear. I think there will still be advertising, full stop, because a lot of people will see the trade-off between watching advertising and getting free content. So there will always be a free-to-air equivalent. I think linear will remain a medium that advertisers will want to be on, because it will be the only way you can get mass simultaneous reach at quality and scale and brand safe. So I think there is still a market for that, but it will obviously be less.
Less than half?
I don't know, but I think it will be less than today, because a lot of it will have transitioned to online. So our investment strategy so far has been to really, really invest in what we call ITV Hub, which is our online offering, where you get everything on all of our channels on Hub. And in addition to that, when I joined ITV 18 months ago, we did not have one data scientist. You know, 18 months later, we have an entire department which has data scientists, analysts, people that can really interpret data and make the user experience better and personalize and recommend. Now, we're on a journey there, as they say. And, you know, we are having to catch up, because no one in the past thought about doing that. And yet we can't compete if we don't do that. And that's relevant for advertising in terms of what we get on video on demand, on VOD. It's also really relevant, I think, when you're all going to be, I hope, BritBox subscribers, you will want to have a user experience that is just like Netflix. And that's what we've got to give you. We've got to give you stuff where, you know, if you're a great fan of drama, we say, here are all the other dramas you can watch. If you really love comedy, here's the other comedy we've got.
It is very different, though. I mean, we talk about this and think about this a lot at Fortune. It is very different to move from a world where you're trying to create nice environments for advertisers to live in to one where you're really courting the customer and making you have to make sure you give them something they're willing to pay for. It really is a different mindset.
It's I think, you're right to call it a transition. It's a transition and a transformation. And some of that is about skills and capabilities. A lot of it is about making sure you get the right skills and capabilities to do both, and they're not the same people. And the other thing is a big cultural shift, and that is harder. So you can bring people in who have capabilities to do the work, but actually, I believe what you have to do is make sure everybody in the company understands the shift you're trying to make and tilts towards it. And it is a different tilt. You know, everything in a broadcaster is tilted to those big audiences and the big advertising money. So I think you shift from tilting to it to optimizing what you do in broadcast, because it's still a hugely valuable business, but you have to tilt towards doing things differently. You have to be a digital company in every way. That means ways of working. It means the way you look at space. It means the way you work. It's just, it's quite a big, quite a big thing.
You have to compete against Amazon. You will have to compete against Amazon and Netflix.
Well, we compete with them for time, right? We're not head to head with Amazon and Netflix, because it's not like being in broadcast. You're not looking at share of broadcasting.
You don't think there might be a limit to how many subscription services people will
I think inevitably
pay for?
yes, I think there will be, but I think we have not reached saturation point on that, and that's what all the research says. The research says it all comes down to value. People want what they really want, and they're willing to pay for it, and they will watch it in their own time, because with a streaming service, it's not really time critical. So they kind of go, I can watch it whenever I want. I can watch it when I'm commuting. I can watch it late at night. I can watch it at 2 in the morning. They're watching off schedule. At the same time, I think it's important for me to stress that the broadcast business, 75% of people are still watching that live. Now, if I'd asked you that question, if I asked shareholders that question, they kind of go 50%, 40%. It's 75% of people are watching live.
What are they watching?
So they watch sport live, obviously.
Sports, you know,
it's important, I think, to get a decent amount of sport, because that's a live audience. They watch entertainment live. Yeah. So especially if it's stripped entertainment. So if Love Island is on and it's on for 8 weeks, they will watch it every night. And then the catch-up is actually quite small on that, because once you've missed it, you will come in, but it'll be a much smaller audience. The thing that is watched a lot on catch-up will be dramas. You know, because you can just stack them up and watch them all in one go and catch up. Well, kind of binge watch, or just watch it in your own way. But if it's entertainment and it's on kind of weekly, you kind of watch it weekly. So that still drives live audiences. You
probably, my guess is you don't have time in your life.
And news, of course.
News, yes. Thank you for mentioning that.
Very big live audience. It's so important to us that I kind of take it for granted that people know. I mean, ITV News is incredibly important. We're a public service broadcaster.
And you think that will help keep broadcast alive for a long time?
I think it does keep live audiences with you for a long time. You can't do that in pay.
My guess is with the job you have right now, you don't have a lot of free time to do this, but if you were going to binge watch a television show, what would it be?
Funny you should say that. You know, I haven't watched any of Victoria, which is an ITV show. I haven't watched any of Downton Abbey.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
You need to take a sabbatical.
I will literally, and I don't get to. So there are shows that I would watch right from the very beginning. So I didn't watch Victoria this year because I hadn't watched any of it. So I want to go back. I'll go back to the start and watch all of it. So there's loads of stuff. There's so much stuff you just miss. That's on broadcast.
Yeah, I'm still trying to catch up with Game of Thrones, but we can. Look, thank you.
It wasn't that good apparently, although I'm a fan. I'm a fan, but it didn't get as glowing reviews
at the end.
I thought, at the end.
But we don't have to go there.
No, don't.
Dame Carolyn,
spoil it.
Fascinating conversation, although brief. Thank you for being with us today.
Great pleasure.